Hello, love. Welcome home to Eden. Just take a moment to breathe in that goddess prana, the energy of divine feminine love you are connecting with now, because it's your birthright to feel her mother love, her sister love, her lover love. So the first thing to understand about returning to the divine feminine, there's this fear that the men will be worse off, that the woman would somehow turn around and start to control the men, and the women would all turn into men, and the men would have no role. So let's break this down, because there is this amazing truth that is, when you return, when the patriarchy crumbles, when it falls, men are much better off. Much better off. So you first just look at the pillars of patriarchy that have not worked. Number one, slavery. Okay, so any kind of free labor is what he depends on for his number two. Second pillar, capitalism. His design of taking more than he gives. You can only do that if you are taking more than you give. Then the next pillar is his religion. So his religion can dominate the minds of others if he says God looks like him. God is white and male, not feminine. And that way, the fourth pillar is the feminine, is the women who he is taken care of by, the ones who are cooking for him and cleaning for him and jacking up his ego and doing what he says and making him feel powerful by being submissive. And her sexuality and her beauty, making him look good or giving him energy. So you got those four pillars going on. Now, if you cut those pillars, you just say, cut the pillars of patriarchy, and the whole platform falls to the earth. What do you have left? You have the divine masculine instead of the oppressive masculine above everybody, oppressing down with this heavy concrete weight, keeping everybody trapped. You cut off the pillars, and that whole structure falls to the earth. What do you have? You have the foundation for the temple of the goddess, because that's what the divine masculine is meant to be. He's her foundation. He's her support. He's her strength. He makes her safe with that security of him being below her, supporting her. So what her pillars become when she has the support of the divine masculine are all these incredible things. But the trouble for the feminine is that without the support of the divine masculine, without him underneath her, giving her strength and empowerment, she ends up alone, so alone in such a big task that she starts to go a little crazy, or just get weak, or hysterical, or screechy, or angry, or because it's too much alone. We're meant to be doing this sacred life together. Yeah, together we need each other. So the pillars then, that when the divine masculine is supporting the feminine, the pillar of enslaving others, like the jail slavery system, and the using third world labor that doesn't pay anybody anything, all of that goes away. So what the labor force becomes is us together. Everyone together, everyone playing their dharmic role of the piece they feel they fit into, such as in places like Italy, where the day is, really short, and there's tons and tons of vacations, and fancy companies like Lamborghini share their profits with their workers, and the CEOs aren't paid that much more than their workers, and a whole cooperative sharing family feeling starts to breed equality consciousness. What else? So the pillar of there's another pillar of the masculine I forgot about. Where does that come in? Well, there's the subjugation of nature for his purposes, like the just taking of resources. That's a masculine pillar. So when he falls to the earth, he feels the support of nature. He feels the support of Mother Earth, giving him all his strength in order to be give to the feminine. He feels his innate connection with goddess energy within himself. And this thing of taking from nature resources, harvesting, in a way of just pillaging, it becomes instead the ecological exchange. It becomes, so his pillars, this is so exciting. What happens to the divine masculine when he falls onto the earth and supports the feminine is that the rape of nature becomes instead the celebration of science and technology in service of the exchange with nature in a balanced way. So the energy that would go into dominating and taking and just grabbing, and instead it goes into his intellect's place of, oh, how do I create a gizmo, a machine, a technology to serve the feminine that will be in response to nature, because her pillar is it's oneness with nature. Okay, so more of these pillars, they change. So the thing about the using of women for the man's masculine power, what happens instead is, because she feels supported, she doesn't have to be used or oppressed to give to him. She feels this spontaneous gratitude. She wants to give, and her sexuality opens up when the women feel safe and free and empowered, and that their temple is being built for them. They are way more sexual, way more sexy, way more into sex, and he is lavished upon in spontaneously. More of these pillars change. So the religion. So when the religion of the temple of the goddess comes into play, and there's actual worship of goddess, the mother, and the divine feminine as the sort of the heart of life. So it's not that it's so the her spirituality becomes it's a polarity that embraces the masculine, like yin and yang, and the dance of both genders as, image of God the divine. But the spirituality of the temple of the divine feminine is actually, it's like she is beingness and he is doingness. And then sometimes they exchange. She'll be the doer, he'll be the beer. But basically what that means is that the actions that everyone takes is in service of the being, which is feminine, which is the heart, which is the love, which is the gentleness. So it would be spirituality that actually you see the image of the divine feminine. You see that Guadalupe. You see that Isis. You see that Santa Barbarita. You see her in her imagery as holding the divine daughter, giving birth to the divine sons, and there is a feeling of surrendered worship of goddess energy, but not divorced from her sexuality. So the word virgin, we think of it as a neutered woman who's not sexual and never will be. She's kind of like a nun, but it really means whole and complete woman. That's where the word comes from. She who is whole and complete unto herself. So you have the pillar of the divine temple of the goddess is all about, she's already complete. So her sexuality is a celebration with the masculine of that completeness that they enjoy together. So let's see, what else? Yeah, well, that's enough for now, right? All you need to think about is how you are going to cut those legs off of the patriarchal capitalistic model. You're going to cut those legs off. You're going to help me do this in yourself, in your life, and the men around you. And you're going to realize you're going to land on the earth, and you're going to become the foundation for the feminine, and she needs you bad. And this is going to open up your life to the benevolent, beneficent patriarch, the father image. So the other fear of the men have, the masculine has, is, oh no, how will I be a leader if the women are leading everything? Well, see, the style of the feminine of leadership, sometimes it's just cut and dry, but that's usually when she's in her masculine. Leadership for the feminine is a much more flowery kind of way of sharing equally. And then she wants the masculine energy in you, in men, and even in other women, to be that leadership, clear, king, But she's the queen behind it all, meaning that her voice is not just heard, but it is the voice that everybody's listening to know what to do and why and what they're serving. So you still get to be a king, and you still get to be a beneficent, benevolent patriarch. It's just that what the way it happens, the way you do it, is not through oppression anymore, or telling people what to do. It's through listening and responding. A really good image to give yourself of divine masculine energy is very funny. It's the Beverly Hillbillies sitcom from the 50s. It's in black and white. It's on YouTube. You look it up, Beverly Hillbillies, and watch the father patriarch. Now, the actor who plays Pa, the actor who plays Pa said he would not take the part unless they made him wise and kind. He stood up for the patriarch and the kindness and the gentleness that serves the feminine before he even took the part. So he shaped the part. And when you watch this show, it's so cool because the character of Pa is continually he's continually supporting the feminine and guiding everybody back to the heart, and staying cool and chill without dominating anybody, just being a leader. So I wish that for you. I wish that sacred, masculine way of holding the heart of love. I was trying to take my dog for a walk, again, accosted by a big guy in a truck who, wherever I look for places where the dog can run free, and I found a place where hundreds of people bring their dogs to run free because it's a long walk along the river with nobody's yards to bother anybody. But at the beginning of the walk, there are a couple of houses, and if your dog runs into their yard, this guy wanted to make sure I knew that he was going to have us arrested and the dog taken away. And that's the kind of patriarchal energy that's about fear of joy, fear of flow, fear of fun, fear of any rules being broken. And it can be women holding that kind of fear even more so than men. So when you look at the temple of the divine feminine arising, there's a quality to it. It's just not doctrinaire. It's just not so, the masculine temple of religion, it's so much about dogma and rules that you have to follow, and everybody must obey, and you're bad and a sinner if you don't. But the feminine, she's embracing all traditions. She's embracing all religions. She's not thwarted, or there's no aspect of her that's so insecure that if people are different than her, she feels incomplete or threatened in her power. Her power is knowing that's so pure, and it's so connected to the moment. That power of the goddess in you is your much more free, spontaneous, playful nature that allows energy to move. So here's a really good example. So when women nowadays, they start these goddess groups and these goddess ritual things, the problem is, because they're so indoctrinated by the masculine idea of what religious ceremony is and what it is to have a church, they do everything the way men do. They'll set up little lectures and little roles. Everybody plays in their costume, and they have to face the right direction, and they have to, all the playfulness is gone, all the freedom is gone, all of the, they're just like the men, and they're dressing in goddess costumes. And if you see a real spiritually alive feminine ceremony, you have to go to Africa to really see where it's still alive. So Sabanfu Somé comes from Burkina Faso, Ghana, near Ghana. And she says, look, I've been sent here to teach you the ways of the rituals. So the ways of the rituals of her tribe are basically, it's the way that you set up a ceremony where spirit actually comes in and spontaneously takes it over. And there's room for wildness because when spirit comes in, it's not, nobody gets to control it. Spirit's in control. So if you see the African American churches, some of the Black Baptist churches where people are really feeling the Spirit and they're really singing and they're really dancing. That's because Spirit has come in and taken them over. If you see some of the dances, like I was in an African dance troupe for a number of years, and the dances were so complex and so difficult that the only way to do them for hours on end was to allow the ancestors and the spirit world to carry our bodies on the rhythm of the drum. So then it takes on this incredible other dimension where you can actually hear the ancestors singing in the room. You can feel them dancing your body. And it's not soul possession where at the end you're all spooked out. It's actually you've been infused with the life of the other world, and you've given the other world all this energy from this realm because you danced those rhythms and you connected with the ancestors. So like I put on a ceremony one time where I took a round yurt building and I put up white paper all over the walls, and I said, while you're here, I said to the participants, lay down, meditate, stretch, dance, whatever you need to do. We're going to have music playing, but I'm going to channel these drawings, and a drawing will be made for you. So I took a black ink and I just drew as fast as I could. I let the spirit move through my hand, and it turned out there was a drawing, a deeply healing drawing for each person. So that's a good example of a divine feminine, how our rituals work. I had to let go. I didn't get to be a priestess saying or choosing or planning anything in particular. I simply created a container, and then spirit came through and helped everybody. So you can see it's a whole different kind of temple. So when you have an ecstatic dance, it's closer to the feminine than any kind of little ritual where the women are all wearing priestess outfits. If they're wildly dancing. Isn't this a really fun conversation? Like when you really think about what it's going to mean to let in, to build a different kind of temple based on the feminine, there's this quality of miraculous power. And that's why people became so afraid of the feminine, because when the feminine creates a ritual in which a divine miracle actually happens in the space, somebody's cured, somebody is singing the most beautiful song you've ever heard, and their eyes are closed and they're trembling. This is the kind of thing like, oh, the women are spooky, the women are witches, the women can't be, controlled when they do their thing, like take the drums from the women, don't let them dance. That was the first thing they did, right? All of the religious churches, they said, don't take the drums from the women. Only men can drum. Only men can, anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So here we are, darling. We are returning, and we're not afraid anymore because we can see, wow, we're ending the life on earth for the humans if we don't return to the feminine. Which other way do we have to go? We have no other way we can go. There's only one way through, and that's the way towards the feminine. And with her magic and with her togetherness. So that's the other thing. You get scared alone, and the feminine's going to bring you all together. She's going to bring everybody together. Anybody will be welcome at that church soup kitchen. Okay, much love. Exciting, huh? So exciting. We're building her temple.